Tonight, passengers expressed concerns over safety of rail line as train services on the Abuja-Kaduna route resume after 2 days of suspension following an explosion on the track. Almost 300 inmates recaptured, 575 others still missing after an attack on the correctional center in Oyo town. Authorities say search continues for the fleeing inmates. Governor Masari calls on the federal government to declare emergency on national security to end the spate of attacks in Katsina and other areas. And Turkey moves to expel U.S., French and 8 other ambassadors as President Erdogan orders that they be declared persona non grata.
On business news tonight, President Muhammadu Buhari is set to unveil e-Naira on Monday, October the 25th at the state.
Train services have resumed on the Kaduna-Abuja route after they were suspended on Thursday following an explosion that damaged the tracks on Wednesday night. The management of the Nigeria Railway Corporation says passengers can now resume their travel from the Idu station in Abuja and from the Rigasa station in Kaduna. Services were disrupted on Wednesday evening after the rail line was attacked with explosives by unknown persons. There was, however, low turnout of passengers at both the Kaduna and Abuja stations when Channels Television visited. Some of them expressed their concerns.
After a portion of the rail track around the Rijana area of Kaduna State was damaged by explosives suspected to have been planted by bandits, rail services for Abuja-Kaduna were suspended. The damage caused by the blast almost derailed a passenger train heading to Kaduna from Abuja. The suspension of train services for 2 days had left some travelers from Kaduna stranded as they barely contemplated traveling by road for fear of attacks. Following the resumption of operations by the Nigerian Railway Corporation on Saturday, a low turnout of passengers was observed at the Rigasa train station, despite the deployment of more security forces in the trains. This train, which has a capacity of 928 passengers per trip, now heads for Abuja with just about 300 passengers. For many train passengers, this remains the safest means of transportation, despite the unfortunate incident of Wednesday night. But they also want the authorities to improve security on the rail lines.
Security men, both on the road and on the air, because the Air Force people should be able to detect if there are some hoodlums in the bush, and I believe that should be able to annihilate them completely.
Beef more securities and try to know what is happening around the rail track. That's my advice.
I think the better way and the most effective and efficient way in addressing security is through awareness. We should make the people aware that this is not going to help anybody. If we try to destroy the rail services, that means we're trying to bring the whole nation to its knees, and it's not going to help anybody.
While the train station recorded low passenger turnout, commercial motor parks in Kaduna for Abuja-bound vehicles have been witnessing high volume of patronage by travelers since the rail attack. Travelers say they have no choice but to continue their journey by road, and the park operators appear happy with the new turn of events.
It's been long I traveled by road. Before the train service, I do travel by road, but when the train service came, I go by train. If one has something important to do, we just have to travel and pray that God will secure the routes.
Initially, people are really scared of traveling by road. They used to go to train. But what happened in the train station for the past 2 days make people to come back to road. Because initially, it's the bandits that make people go back to train. So now they have gone back to the train, people come back to cars. So that's it, sir.
There was also low patronage at the Idu train station, Abuja. While Channels Television was not granted permission to access the station, passengers were seen trickling in as services resumed.
The Nigeria Correctional Service says 262 of those who escaped during the attacks by gunmen on Friday night have returned to the Medium Security Custodial Center in Abolongo, Oyo, while 575 are still at large. A release issued by the Oyo State Command of the service says the prison was attacked by yet-to-be-identified gunmen at about 9:30 p.m. yesterday. The statement further revealed that the invaders, wielding sophisticated weapons, blew up the yard wall and gained entry after a fierce encounter with officers on guard. However, the Oyo State Controller, Mr. Noel Ailewon, says an operation to search for and recapture the inmates at large has commenced.
It was last night at about 10:05 that I got information from the officer in charge that the correctional center here in Abolongo was attacked by unknown gunmen. They came in a large number and there was sporadic shooting. And they had explosives. And they attacked the correctional center and freed inmate in custody. Well, there was casualty. One of the inmates that wanted to jump a fence, I think he fell down and lost his life. Damages were done. And for them to be released, definitely the doors and bars will have been destroyed. They've gone searching for inmates, and in the last 2 or 3 hours, they've recaptured more than close to 300 inmates.
In spite of the successes recorded in the ongoing war against insurgency, the Nigeria Air Force under Operation Hadinkai continues its onslaught on terrorist targets on islands and localities around the Lake Chad area. The latest attacks were carried out earlier this week following intelligence reports that about 20 boats were seen conveying between 5 and 7 suspected Boko Haram and ISWAP terrorists to an island in the Lake Chad area and Malam Faturi, headquarters of Abadam local government area in Borno State. According to the Air Force, the mission by the air component of Operation Hadinkai confirms the high concentration of terrorist and insurgent elements hibernating in the Lake Chad general area. It notes that the air operations will be sustained until the area is rid of all terrorists and insurgents. Meanwhile, a Nigerian military base in Gujba local government area of Yobe State has been reportedly attacked by armed persons suspected to be members of Boko Haram. It was gathered that the terrorists drove into Katarko village in 10 gun trucks and attacked the military formation. This was after the insurgents were said to have engaged the security operatives at the base in heavy shooting, forcing residents to run to the bushes for safety. Katarko is located 20 kilometers southeast of Damaturu, the state capital, and has witnessed frequent attacks by the insurgents. Governor Aminu Masari of Katsina State has called on the federal government to declare a state of emergency on national security. This, he believes, will bring an end to the loss of lives and property across the state. According to the governor, security agencies are doing their best to address the lingering insecurity issues across the country, but more needs to be done to curtail the activities of armed bandits, cattle rustlers, and other criminal elements terrorizing the country. Governor Masari made the call in Katsina today when he declared open the 2021 third quarter general meeting of the Conference of State Legislators of Nigeria.
In Katsina State, our major problem is the security challenge we are facing in some parts of the state. With the support of the State House of Assembly, some legal frameworks were put in place while the existing ones were restructured in order to address the security challenges. I wish to call on the federal government to declare emergency on the national security in order to bring an end to loss of lives and properties across the state. The security agencies are putting in their best to address the security issues across the country, but more has to be done to curtail the activities of bandits, cattle rustlers, and armed bandits, separatists, and other criminal elements across the country.
The Sokoto state government is asking the federal government to suspend the blockade of telecommunications services earlier imposed on 14 local government areas in the state. The state made the formal request after an enlarged Security Council meeting reviewing the bandits' attack on Goronyo Market last week, which claimed the lives of 43. The Governor, Aminu Tambuwa, disclosed this today when he received members of the Northeast Governors Forum who paid him a condolence visit over the bandits' attack which took place. Meanwhile, Governor Tambuwa is appealing to the federal government, the National Assembly and the National Judicial Council, NJC, to set up an intervention fund to cater to the welfare of the judiciary. He made the call when the House of Representatives Committee on Judiciary paid him a courtesy visit at the Sokoto State Government House.
It is our responsibility, all of us collectively, to support the judiciary for it to continue to remain independent and functional, because that is our, the hope of the last hope of the common man. Not only the common man, but these days big men are in and out of court. So, courtesy of EFCC and ICPC. So we should all know that it's important for us to really strengthen the institution of the judiciary. All of our institutions, National Assembly, State Legislature. I believe in building institutions, so we must continue to support our judiciary. Their welfare is worrisome that today, I think for how many years now? The 13 years round, when last their salary package was reviewed. 13 years. I'm appealing to the federal government, the NJC, to please do the needful on the salaries and allowances of judicial staff.
The All Progressives Congress governorship candidate in Anambra State, Senator Andy Uba, has promised to squarely address the security challenges facing the state if elected governor. The senator disclosed this during the rally in Oyi Ayamelum Federal Constituency as part of his campaign ahead of the November the 6th governorship election. Mr. Uba says he will engage professional hands in tackling insecurity and provide appropriate infrastructure to enhance businesses and economic development if elected.
A large turnout of supporters of the All Progressives Congress in Oyi local government area, all rooting for the victory of their candidate, Senator Andy Uba. Senator Andy Uba and his team stretched the campaign well into the night. One after another, leaders of the party addressed the supporters, assuring them that the APC candidate is well positioned for victory in the upcoming elections. For the candidate, his track record as a former governor and senator stands him out against his competitors, as he believes he will emerge the next governor of Anambra State.
It's not about being a professor. Professor is not the issue. Anybody can be a professor, but you need people. Professors, the professor that says he knows everything. I don't know everything, but I will get intellectuals to help me run the system. That's what I've done in Obasanjo's regime. I got people that were brainy to come in and help us run this. Something I will do in this state.
He rolls out his plans for the people, promising to create jobs, build infrastructure, and revive obsolete industries.
Once we have security in place, then the jobs will come. Infrastructure, see the total mess. Education, local government election, we'll do that in 6 months as we come in. You must engage the people. You never engaged anybody. Like I said in Wazirike's case, I engaged him, and once I engaged, things came down. Everything was calm. I will engage them, so because they need jobs. If they have jobs, they won't be doing these things, and you know that for sure.
With several more areas to cover, the APC says it remains confident that its candidate will win the Anambra governorship election.
In part 2, after the break, Edo State government partners UN Women and the Italian government to tackle stigmatization of victims of gender-based violence. Stay with us. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television. A reminder of our top stories. Train services on the Abuja-Kaduna route resume after 2 days of suspension following an explosion on the track. Passengers express concerns over safety of rail line. Almost 300 inmates recaptured. 575 others still missing after an attack on the correctional center in Oyo town. Authorities say search continues for the fleeing inmates. Governor Masari calls on the federal government to declare state of emergency on national security to end the spate of attacks in Katsina and other areas. And Turkey moves to expel US, French and 8 other ambassadors as President Erdogan orders that they be declared persona non grata. Edo State Governor Mr. Godwin Obaseki says that expeditious delivery of justice in cases of domestic violence and securing the conviction of offenders would curb such crimes. The governor stated this while addressing judges and judicial workers in Benin City, the state capital, at an event organized by the UN Women, Italian and Edo State government to tackle the issue of stigmatization of victims of gender-based violence. The representative of the Italian government commended the state government for championing reforms aimed at curbing violence against persons.
At the end of the day, if we are going to give effect to our VAP laws, then the court systems must be seen to work. We must get a lot more convictions, because it's only convictions that will serve as a deterrent to abuse of persons. We have worked with our lawmakers to update our statutes so as to meet our present-day challenges. Our approach to addressing the menace of sexual violence has to be holistic and thorough, and it will be a disservice to leave the judiciary out of these efforts, which is geared towards keeping Edo safe, particularly our girls, women, and other vulnerable persons. We believe that it is essential to address the issues of stigmatization of victims of GBV, which is particularly rife in this part of the world, because that serves as a deterrent for people to come out and report cases of GBV. The effective and timely prosecution of GBV cases in Edo State is necessary to ensure that the victims of these heinous crimes are not subjected to further victimization by delay in our judicial processes.
Italy and many partner countries are pleased by the action that was undertaken here in the past 5 years. The efforts to modernize legislation and to take all the measures possible to fight violence. Violence in every term, from the violence of trafficking that leads so many sons and daughters of Benin through gruesome travels through the desert and sea to often uncertain futures, to the more parochial but endemic domestic violence, but here, as in every other place in the world.
Residents of Damaturu, the Yobe state capital, have commended the federal government on the speedy completion of work on the 8.4 billion naira Damaturu Regional Water Project. Progress on the project, which was conceived 15 years ago by the Yobe state government, had slowed down due to paucity of funds and insurgent attacks. However, earlier in the year, the federal government approved funds for the completion of the project.
Water splashing and cascading from big pipes, a natural resource said to be one of the most essential needs of life. Residents of Yobe State, however, continue to battle with lack of access to potable water, as many now have to rely on commercial water vendors. The state government conceived the Damaturu Regional Water Project aimed at resolving water scarcity issue in the state capital and its environs, but was hampered by insurgency and paucity of funds. On February the 10th, 2021, the Federal Executive Council approved the sum of 8.4 billion naira for the actualization of the project. With men now sighted at work, residents of Damaturu now have a renewed optimism about the completion of the water project.
Residents of Damaturu have started smiling because with the pronouncement that this is the support granted, we are really overwhelmed. In fact, this is really a giant stride.
It has economic importance. People will no longer be buying water like before because most of the areas that have problem of water will no longer have that problem of water. For those that do not have problem of water, there will be improvement. So this is a project that is going to touch the lives of a lot of people, thousands of people within Damaturu.
Work is still ongoing, the latest being the installation of pipes and the construction of a water testing plant.
We have the equipment on ground so that they will be fixed and it will be used appropriately as at when due. Over the years, we have done a lot in terms of pipe laying within Damaturu metropolis here. We have done, in Damaturu alone, I think we have more than 20 kilometers newly laid pipeline extension because of the expansion in new settlements.
The 8.4 billion naira project has 3 lots, with 10 boreholes each to be connected to a central reservoir and a capacity to produce 7 million litres of water per day. The project, when completed, is expected to address water scarcity in the state capital and its environs.
The Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria has held its 57th General Assembly and 20th Annual General Meeting in Kano State. Present at the occasion, which held at the Kano Government House, Coronation Hall, were echelons of the broadcast industry, the Governor of Kano State, the Governor of Katsina, Bello Masiri, as well as other top government functionaries. During the meeting, the broadcasters signposted the need to prioritize national interest and strengthen collaboration within the industry.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Please help.
It's a gathering of key players in the nation's media industry to induct one of their own, Mr. John Ugbe, as the 14th chairman of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria, BON. Also attending the event in Abuja are federal lawmakers, as well as the governor of Kano State, Mr. Abdullahi Ganduje. The outgoing chairman of the Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria appreciates members for their support during her tenure, while appealing to the new officers to push for the establishment of a professional body to regulate the activities of broadcasters of Nigeria. The governor of Kano State challenges broadcasters on nation building.
As media owners, we have a vital role to play in managing all communications in the public domain in the interest of peace and national development.
The special advisor to the president on media and publicity also has a word for broadcasters.
We need to have a country. And if we're going to have a country that will be united and will be one, broadcasting has a big role to play in it.
The chairman of Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, who is represented by the station manager, Channels TV Abuja, Mr. Deji Balogun, pledges his continued support for BON.
The Channels family rejoices with MultiChoice and FRCN on the investiture as chairman and vice chairman, respectively, of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria today. As you mount the mantle of leadership, be firmly assured of our commitment to join hands with you to ensure that we build a vibrant and all-inclusive industry of our desire.
The new leadership of BON promises to prioritize capacity building of broadcasters in the country.
We are committed to starting this training program from the first quarter of 2022, and we're already looking at providing training opportunities for at least 1,000 members in the first year and to scale it up in the second year.
In the next 2 years, Mr. Ugbe and his team will pilot the affairs of the BON as members look up to them to take the organization to a new height.
And when the news at 10 returns, FBN Holdings confirms the acquisition of 5.07% equity stake in the company by businessman Femi Otedola. That's on business. Join us again. Welcome back. Residents of Igbogbo-Bayeku area of Ikorodu are calling on the Lagos State government to fix their road. According to some residents of Igbogbo-Bayeku road, the Igbogbo-Bayeku road has been in a deplorable state for about 5 years, and they are now calling on government to come to their aid.
Ikorodu is a densely populated area which lies approximately 36 kilometers north of Lagos State, with 5 local council development areas: Igbogbo-Bayeku, Ikorodu North, Ikorodu West, Imota, and Ijede. Igbogbo-Bayeku is a well-known community in Ikorodu, but it lacks good roads. On a daily basis, residents have to go through thick and thin to get to their various destinations, and it gets worse when the road is flooded. A pumping machine is stationed at this point to reduce the flood, but still some vehicles are stuck and residents call for help.
This road for now has been like this for like 5 years. You can see tippers. They are the only ones now plying the road. If you don't drive an SUV, you cannot pass through here. What we want them to do is, if even they are not constructing the road afresh, let them at least fill it.
We have local government. We have government. People are the one putting all these people into power. So I'm wondering, what exactly are they doing?
In March this year, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu visited the road and promised reconstruction.
The Igbogbo-Bayeku road, which is a tough one, which is being run by high-tech. We have also called high-tech to see how they speed up that road so that we can give our citizens the desired relief that they require.
6 months gone, there is no improvement on the road, and the residents call for urgent attention. They say their businesses have been crippled as a result of the situation.
During the time that governor come, they have to come and patch everywhere, do some certain things, do mago, do to because of governor is come. Since when governor left, since then, we have been to suffering this road here and there. Anytime that rain fall, all of us will carry mine for hand.
When we are going to Bayeku now, we are going to pay 500 naira from Igbogbo to Bayeku, even from Igbogbo to Awesu Junction. Please, we want you to help us. Yo.
We sought to know why the rehabilitation is delayed, and this is what the Special Advisor to Governor Sanwo-Olu on Works and Infrastructure has to say.
If I have to do 276 roads, and I can only do 27, maximum 30, if I squeeze myself at best, I do a 30. So that tells me that I still have a 246 still hanging somewhere. And that has to be done. So that's why you hear people say, oh, my road has not been done, this has not been done. It's available, it's the amount of capital that is available to you that you can do so much, only when you have so much.
The people of Igbogbo-Bayeku community can only hope that the state government will address this challenge as soon as possible so that motorists can experience smooth ride as economic activities in the area are revived.
Economic analysts have been expressing concern over government borrowings, which according to the Finance Minister Zainab Hamid, rose to 4.61 trillion naira as at the end of August 2021. Servicing the debt gulped 74% of revenue within the same period, raising questions as to the state of infrastructure, which gulps a huge part of capital expenditure and is expected to boost economic activities as well as revenue. In this next report, our business correspondent, John Mekwa, highlights these figures and analysts' perspectives to issues.
2021 budget parameters, if you recall, includes
the Minister of Finance giving the breakdown of the 2021 budget implementation as at the end of August. The budget for the year, including supplementary budget, is 14.6 trillion naira, out of which total capital expenditure, including for MDAs, is 4.98 trillion naira for the whole year. Drawing from this, by August, capital expenditure should have hit 3.3 trillion naira.
As at the end of August, 1.75 trillion naira had been expended for capital projects. Of this amount, 1.723 trillion represents 81% of the aggregate provision for MDA's capital prorated, while 36.01 billion is expenditure from government-owned enterprises.
By implication, the federal government has spent 53% of the prorated actual budget set for capital expenditure and 22% of total expenditure.
What this implies is that capital expenditure received the least attention, or I would say received the least spending across all the major lines of expenditure.
Infrastructural development has been linked to the debt stock of the country, which according to the Minister of Finance, actual borrowing as at the end of August was 4.61 trillion naira.
Of the expenditure, 2.87 trillion was utilized for debt service, while 2.57 trillion was utilized for personnel costs, including pensions and gratuities.
Borrowing for infrastructural development has been adjourned as norm as infrastructure boosts economic activities and consequently funds debt servicing. However, questions have been asked as to the viability of some of the infrastructure embarked upon by the federal government. For instance, the second Niger Bridge with a cost of 336 billion naira, or the construction of railway to link Kano and Kaduna, which cost $1.2 billion.
With the kind of infrastructure required and the cost going into building these rail lines, you cannot recover their money from passenger traffic alone. You may not even get up to 1/3 from passenger traffic. So the haulage is where you are looking for. After Lagos-Ibadan Highway, the second most profitable is the Niger Bridge, because of the horrendous traffic going in there, going in and out of the whole of Southeast and a lot of, and part of South. And so there it is, you put toll gates, and the toll gates, whether you charge 1,000 naira per truck or 2,000 naira per truck, you get a lot of that money back within 2-3 years.
With this infrastructure not in the state of profitability currently, debt servicing has been funded from the budget. Reason the country's debt stock has been a source of conversation in recent times.
As debt servicing increases, it reduces the chances of having excess revenue for capital projects or for other expenditure.
As at August ending, debt servicing to revenue was 74%. However, placing debt servicing against GDP is 35%, a level which the government assures is still within safe limits. John Mekwa, Channels Television News.
And up next on the news at 10 is Business News with Teniola Shobowali.
Thanks a lot, Bukola. Welcome to Business News.
President Muhammadu Buhari is set to formally unveil the country's first digital currency, e-Naira, on Monday, October the 25th at the State House in Abuja. According to a statement by the central bank, the launch of the e-Naira is a result of several years of research work in advancing the boundaries of payment systems to make financial transactions easier and seamless for all. The e-Naira marks a major step forward in the evolution of money, and the CBN says it will ensure the digital currency is accessible by everyone. Now to some company news. FBN Holdings PLC has today confirmed the 5.07% equity stake in the company by business mogul Mr. Femi Otedola. In a statement sent to the Nigerian Exchange, FBNH Company Secretary Mr. Sheye Kusoko affirms that Mr. Otedola and his nominee, Calvados Global Services Limited, have acquired a total of about 1.82 billion units of shares from the company's issued share capital of 35.9 billion units. With this acquisition, Mr. Otedola is now said to be the largest single shareholder in the company. Meanwhile, let's find out how forex trading activity ended at the FMDQ exchange this week. The total turnover of transactions carried out at the FX spot, forwards and futures markets decreased by 41.92% week on week to $911.38 million as at October the 22nd. A breakdown of the activity at the FMDQ exchange shows that the total value of transactions at the FX spot market also fell by 6.47% against the previous week to $700.94 million. At the same time, the Naira dropped marginally by 0.01% to 413 Naira 43 kobo against the dollar at the Nigerian Autonomous Foreign Exchange window of the forex market in the comparative week. All at the domestic market, where the equities kicked off the week on a sluggish note, but positive sentiments resurfaced later in the week as investors cherry-picked attractive dividend-paying stocks. Accordingly, the all-share index notched a 0.8% gain to close. Bargain hunting activities in Nigerian breweries, Bar Cement, Total and Stanbic IBTC drove the weekly gain. However, the activity levels were weaker than the prior week as trading volumes and value declined by 45.6% and 42.9% respectively. Analyzing by sectors, the industrial goods, oil and gas and banking indexes posted gains, while the insurance and consumer goods indexes declined. The Nigerian Exchange Group, newly listed on the NGX, topped the gainers leaderboard for the week. Its share price rose by 23.94%, while Royal Exchange PLC, down by 17.19%, led the underperforming stocks. The trio of FBN Holdings, eTransact International PLC and Access Bank contributed 40.07% and 34.29% to the total volume and value of shares traded in the week. Similarly, activities at the unlisted securities market closed the week on a positive note as both the NASD OTC Security Index and market gap advanced by 0.1%. At the same time, NASD investors gained 0.6 billion naira, taking the market's capitalization to 617.59 billion naira this week. However, total volume of securities traded decreased by almost 100% to 2.07 million units, while value fell by a 93.3% to 38.96 million naira from 584 million naira traded in the previous week. NASD PLC and Friesland Campina Wamco PLC ranked among the 5 most traded securities by volume and value for the week. NASD PLC topped the gainers chart, while Friesland Campina Wamco PLC led the losers. Let's see how the fixed income market fared this week. The bond market was bullish as the bulls dominated most of the trading session. At the close of trading on Friday, the trend was sustained with sell pressure across the board. The overall average benchmark yields closed at 8.40% at the close of trading, indicating a week-on-week rise of 1.81%. The Treasury bills market closed the week mixed, with the bears and bulls leading the market in different trading sessions. At the close of the market on Friday, average benchmark yields for Treasury bills closed at 5.38%, Omo bills at 6.44%, and CBN special bills closed at 5.97%. And that's business news tonight. It's back to Bukola for the rest of the news at 10.
Thank you, Tenyola. And up next on the news at 10 is sports news with Kayode Alayode.
Thank you, Bukola. Welcome to Sports News. We begin with the English Premier League, where Mason Mount has backed a hat-trick as Chelsea handed Norwich City a 7-0 demolition to cement top spot. Phil Foden scored twice as Manchester City produced a devastating first-half display to beat Brighton and move up to second spot. Callum Wilson's magnificent overhead kick helped Newcastle United to hold Crystal Palace to a draw. Joshua King came back to haunt former club with a hat-trick as Everton's second-half collapse gave Watford a stunning 5-2 comeback victory. Rodrigo scored a dramatic stoppage time penalty to earn Leeds United a point against Wolverhampton Wanderers. Maxwell Cornet scored twice as Burnley claimed a point in an entertaining draw with Southampton. And Bayelsa United have crashed out of the CAF Confederation Cup. The Nigeria FA Cup champions suffered a 4-0 defeat at the hands of Tunisian side AC Sfaxien in the second leg of the competition played this evening in Sfax. The club has now progressed to the final qualifying round of 4-1 on goal aggregate. Nigeria's sole representative in the European Tour, Georgia Obo, has finished fourth in the Ladies Access Series Tour event at the Barcelona Golf Course in Spain. Obo started off the day 1 at 5 over par 77 and was in 35th position, which improved by day 2 after scoring 3 over par 75 to move into 21st position. However, on the final day, Obo pulled out her best score of the tournament to match her best tournament score, shooting a 3 under par 69. The Ministry of Youth and Sports Development has announced that it will adopt scientific and digital methods of reducing the cases of age discrepancies at future National Youth Games. The ministry says a registration with the National Identity Management Commission is required for participation in next year's edition in Kano State. The ministry has also created a database that will require athletes to input their national identity numbers before they can be registered successfully for the competition. The ministry warned that stiff penalties will be issued to the offending athletes and states. And world number 1, Ashley Barty, has ended her season and will not defend her WTA finals title next month because of the quarantine rules she will face on her return to Australia. The finals were last held in 2019, but Barty will not travel to Guadalajara, Mexico for this year's event. The Australian said she did not want to compromise her preparation for January's Australian Open. Barty, who won 5 titles in 2021, including a Wimbledon triumph, has not played since losing in the 3rd round of the US Open in early September.
And that will be all on Sports News. Is back to Bukola.
Indeed. Thank you, Kadi. Foreign news now. Flooding after heavy rainfall has killed at least 4 people in Côte d'Ivoire's economic capital, Abidjan. Heavy rain caused buildings to collapse, as well as flooding and landslides in several parts of the city. Roads were blocked and vehicles left stranded in floodwaters. Most of the victims lived in areas with little infrastructure that could easily become unstable in bad weather. Abidjan's rainy season usually lasts May to late July, but officials say climate change has contributed to unexpected late rainfall. Turkish President Tayyip Erdogan has ordered the foreign ministry to declare 10 ambassadors from Western countries persona non grata for calling for the release of activist Osman Kavala. Kavala has been in prison for 4 years, charged with financing nationwide protests in 2013 and with involvement in a failed coup in 2016. He denies the charges. In a joint statement on October 18, the ambassadors of Canada, Denmark, France, Germany, the Netherlands, Norway, Sweden, Finland, New Zealand, and the United States called for a just and speedy resolution to Kavala's case and for his urgent release. They were summoned by the Turkish Foreign Ministry, which called the statement irresponsible. The world's biggest oil exporter, Saudi Arabia, has pledged to cut its carbon emissions to net zero by 2060. Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman says the Gulf state would invest more than $180 billion to reach the goal. But he says the kingdom would continue to produce oil for decades to come. And while also addressing the Saudi Green Initiative Forum, Britain's Prince Charles urged leaders to heed the warnings of experts and take action on climate change.
We now have a dangerously narrow window of opportunity in which to accelerate a green recovery while laying the foundations for a sustainable future. But there is hope, and we are already seeing real progress, something the Saudi Green Initiative and Middle East Green Initiative aim to accelerate. The experts are telling policymakers that COP26 must pursue ambitious, nationally determined contributions that have clear baselines and net zero by 2050. We simply must heed this message and, above all, consider the kind of future existence that we are bequeathing to our grandchildren and their children's children.
And the main news again. Train services on the Abuja-Kaduna route resumed today after being suspended for 2 days following an explosion on the track. Also today, prison authorities recaptured almost 300 inmates, while 575 others are still missing after an attack on the correctional center in Oyo town. A search for inmates still at large continues. And Turkey today moved to expel US, French, and 8 other ambassadors as President Erdogan orders that they be declared persona non grata. And that's it on the news at 10 on Channels Television. And from all of us here, it's good night.